So today I'm going to share with you on the joy of giving. Now, if you talk about giving, what is giving? All of us are familiar with, giving something, giving for charity, giving something to someone, helping people. But when you talk about giving, when you look at it, you ask yourself, what is it that I have that I have not received? So nothing that I have really belongs to me. So when I say I gave this, I did that, I gave, what are you really giving? There is nothing that you own or possess. Everything has been given to you right from your life. No, if we look at ourselves, our life itself is a gift from God. We take our life for granted. We do not know whether we'll be alive tomorrow or not. Every day is a gift. Every moment is a gift for us to enjoy. So life itself is a gift that we have received. So along with that comes health, which often is taken for granted until you really fall sick. You never know how beautiful it is to be healthy, to be able to walk, to be able to do even small things. Only when you start getting problems, you realize how important your health is. If you ask someone who's had chikungunya, they can't even put their signature, they can't even hold a pen. So that is when you realize, all my life I've been writing and I've never even given it a thought. So will it be so difficult to hold a pen? No, but then we take all this for granted. Every part of our body, is so important. Even one small finger can make a difference. So all this contributes to, our good health. And this is a gift and a blessing that God has given us. And so if we see everything that we have, our family, our friends, all our education that we've received, the talents that God has given us, our voice, the vocal cords, our ability to do so many things, to use our hands, to be dexterous, all this is a gift given by God. And so we see there's so much we have received. And so to talk about giving, you look at God Himself. Why does God give? Because He loves. See, God so loved the world that He gave. God gave of Himself. That's what we say at Christmas. Love came down at Christmas. No? So God loved us so much that He wanted to give His only Son, because giving His Son was the greatest gift He could give to the world. And Paul, speaking about it, says, God did not spare His own Son, but gave Him up for us all. He did not just send His Son as a rich person into the world. He sent His Son as a very ordinary person. He came as a carpenter and He died an ignominious death. So when He gave His Son so that His Son may die for us, not just live alone, but die for us. And Paul says, if He gave us His Son, what else will God withhold from us? I mean, God has emptied Himself on humankind. That is why we say God gives and forgives, whereas man gets and forgets. We keep getting every day, every morning is a new day, a new gift for us. And we expect God to give us. We are like the dog who keeps looking at its master open mouth and saying, come on, give me some bread, give me something to eat. And you give it something, next minute it's over and then it's opening its mouth again. So we are like that, very often. We have received so much from God, and then we again go back to Him and ask Him as if we've never received anything. And so we take all this for granted. Whereas when it comes to our giving, we have to think so much. We are so calculative in our giving. No? God did not give us anything by calculating. He just gave it freely. That is why Jesus will say in the Gospel of John, He gives us the Spirit without measure. God does not calculate and give. God does not say, okay, till December 31st, 2024, I'll give you, and then I'll stop my blessings on January 1st, 2025. No, He doesn't say that. God wants to go on giving. So if you look at God, His nature is to give, to share, to love. And if you look at nature, the whole of nature is constantly giving. Nature is always giving. You see all the trees and the fruits and the vegetables and all the plants that we have. They keep giving of themselves, the fruits and the flowers, their fragrance. Everything is given freely, and we use everything, we take everything, and seldom do we think, uh, do I have to really give something in return? No? So we only want to grab, we don't want to give. Even when we go somewhere, like you go for a program or you go for a meeting, we always think, what can I receive? What can I get out of this? Rather than how can I contribute? What can I give? What difference can I make? So the very reason why we are here is because God wants us to give that love that He has poured into our hearts, to give of all that we are. I may be filled with so many gifts, so many talents, so many beautiful things within me. God does not make junk. No, God makes beautiful things, and God made us all beautiful. So He wants us to share this beauty, this love with everyone without reservation, without holding back, without calculating, without counting the cost. So that brings us to the question now, how do I give? Where do I give? Every day we need to give of our time, of our energy, of our talents, of our money, whatever we can give. Every day we need to do it, and we need to do it without thinking twice, and making it second nature. Now, if you look at the gospel, see, this is going to be a beautiful passage for us to reflect on. You see, when we talk of giving, you know, if you have a bag full of money in your house, okay, let us say the highest denominator. Let's say you have bundles and bundles and bundles of notes kept in a bag. Okay, probably there are 2000 bundles of 500 rupee notes. Supposing you just take out four bundles out, you take four bundles out, which will probably be 2 lakhs. No, it will not make any difference because there are hundreds of bundles inside. When you take out just four bundles, it may be a huge amount, but you can't even see the difference because the bag is still looking full. So when I give like this, when I take four bundles and give it to someone, and I pride myself saying I've given so much of money to someone, it actually doesn't affect me at all because I have given from my abundance. But what is real giving? Giving is when it really affects me, when I give from the inner circle, when it really hurts. For instance, I am standing in a bus stop with just 10 rupees in my pocket. I need to go home. And then I suddenly see someone coming up to me and saying, can you please get me at least a cup of tea because I've been starving the whole day. And then you realize that that other person's need is greater than mine, and I give that person 10 rupees and ask him to buy a cup of tea and walk home. Now, I've made a real sacrifice. It has really affected me. It has really pinched me because I could have comfortably gone home by bus, but I now have to walk. But I realize that the other person's need is much greater. And so I don't mind parting with that 10 rupees, the only thing that I had. Now, this is what real giving means. When I can give, when it really hurts me, when it affects me, as Mother Teresa says, give until it hurts. This giving should affect us. Very often, our giving is superficial. Very often, our giving is just because we are called to give, we are asked to give, or because society expects of us. But in our hearts, probably we are not very happy giving. See, very often when someone tries to call us for money or tries to annoy us by wanting to talk to us, we can cut the phone. No, we can be rude to them. So that also, in a sense, is giving because the other person is really in need, is desperate, and is trying to get in touch with me. I can shut the door on someone's face and say, no, 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 I'm not willing to talk to you. That also is not giving. I can be very rude. I can be, oblivious to someone who is crying on the road, I can just walk past, like we have in the story of the Good Samaritan. The priest and the Levite, they were all supposed to be holy people, good people, but they just walked by because they didn't want to give of themselves, because they would pollute themselves. It would affect them in a big way. But the Samaritan was ready to be polluted, was ready to be affected, was ready to go the extra mile. And that is what Jesus expects of us. When we look at this beautiful story that Jesus is, the beautiful incident that we read, you see, there were so many people that day in the temple, and Jesus, he sat down opposite the treasury. He just wanted to observe people putting in money, and he sees people putting in large sums, very rich people. And in the temple of Jerusalem, when someone put a huge amount, they would blow the trumpet. The trumpet will sound, and everyone will know, hey, someone has put in a large amount. And so this person can put up his collar if he had one, and feel very happy about it. Very sad, no? But that's how it was. People wanted to show that they were contributing. So very often people want to show that I have given so much, I've contributed so much, I've donated so much, and we make a show of it. But here Jesus observes this widow, and she's a poor widow. Notice that she's not just an ordinary widow, but a poor widow. And a widow in Israel had no rights at all. She could not go to court and win a case. She could not go into a public place just like that. There were so many restrictions. She was treated as a subhuman. And what is worse, the rich Pharisees, they devoured these widows' houses because they had no rights. So they would just come and say, give away this property to me, or give me this money, or you owe me this money. And they would torture these widows because they were helpless. And so you have this poor widow who has been cheated by many people, probably robbed of her money. And yet, this widow comes to the temple with all that she has, just 2 copper coins, totally insignificant. And she drops it into the dumb box, and Jesus notices it. And he says, wow, wow, look at her. He calls his disciples and he says, she has put in more than all the others. Her contribution to the temple treasury is significant in the eyes of God. You see, in the eyes of God, her contribution that day was significant. Imagine if God had to look at you and say, wow, I'm really happy about what you've done. You know, very often our contribution is made public. But what Jesus expects of us is that we contribute in private when nobody can see. That is what this widow did that day. Her contribution was insignificant. Nobody would have ever noticed her, but God noticed her. You see, God notices everything, and He knows our intention. He knows that this widow has nothing left with her. And that is why He's able to say, wow, she has contributed everything she had, her whole living. Jesus is really pleased with her. God the Father is really pleased with her. And that is why Jesus would tell us, when you give alms, do it quietly. Don't sound a trumpet. Do it in secret, so that your heavenly fathers who sees this in secret will reward you. Supposing you say, oh, can you see that TV in the church? Can you see that projector in the church? I was the one who contributed it. Finished. You've already received your reward. Already got your reward. Everybody's going to say, wow, how nice, how generous. You already got your reward. But when you do things quietly, when nobody knows, only the Father knows, then Jesus says your reward is great in heaven. And remember, this kind of contribution, this kind of giving is something that should become second nature to us. To give without even thinking about it. To give without, you know, saying, okay, I'm giving, I'm giving. That is why Jesus will say, Let not your left hand know what your right hand is doing. You see, let not your left hand know what your right hand is doing. That means give in secret, give very quietly, don't make a show about it. That is the kind of giving God expects from us. You know, this beautiful passage from the book of Ecclesiastes says, cast your bread upon the waters, or you will find it after many days. We have to just keep giving and giving, without counting the cost, without expecting a return. When you do that, the good that you do will come back to you as a blessing. You do not know when it will come. We've heard stories about, you have this doctor in England who on a very cold winter night was suddenly called upon to attend to a patient, and he takes his coat and he runs along with a small boy who has come to take him to his house. His father is very ill, and this doctor attends to this man, and he saves his life that night. And he goes back home, and he's completely forgotten about it. Years later, when this doctor himself is very critical, you know he is taken to a hospital, and there he is treated, and then he gets a very huge bill. But then at the end of it, it says it's been paid in full. The doctor is shocked, and the doctor, who's now a patient, is very shocked. He says, who paid my bill? And the doctor comes forward, and he says, doctor, you may not remember me, but I remember you. So I've just repaid a kindness. My father was sick and he was dying, and you saved his life. And today I've become a doctor, and today I did a little help for you. That's all. You do not know how your kindness will be returned, but definitely God notices all that we are doing, and we don't have to make a show of it. We just have to keep giving all the time, whether it's our talents or our time or our money, whatever we can give. As I told you, nothing that we have belongs to us. Everything belongs to God, and therefore, when we give, it should be something that really affects us. Otherwise, there is no real giving. When a plant, is giving of its fruit, it's giving something to us. It's really giving of itself. A part of itself is taken away when you cut out a leaf or a branch or a fruit or a vegetable. It's giving a part of itself. You and I need to share, not from the outer circle, but rather from the inner circle, where it really matters, where it really hurts, where it really counts. And remember, God loves a cheerful giver. Our giving should always be cheerful, not grudgingly, not saying, okay, okay, I'll give you this time, next time don't ask me. That kind of giving is not real giving. Giving is something that should become second nature, where we would love to give rather than calculating, rather than thinking about it, rather than, saying, oh, it's such a difficult thing to give. Jesus himself, he would say, you know, there is greater joy in giving than in receiving. No, this is one saying of Jesus which is not there in the Gospels, but which was popular among the disciples. This is a saying of Jesus that became so popular that Paul, who was not a disciple of Jesus, he was not there with the 12. He met Jesus only after the resurrection, you see. So Paul has already heard this because it's a saying of Jesus, and he uses it when he's talking to the Ephesians. He's talking to them before going to Jerusalem. As he is leaving Ephesus, he's telling them, I'm reminding you of the words of Jesus. He says, of what the Lord said, that it is more blessed to give than to receive. So giving always brings joy to us. When you see someone really hungry and you feed them, there is so much of joy in your heart when you see them, being satisfied that you are able to help them. You're able to give something to them, no? It really gives joy to the giver more than the receiver. A person who's very hungry, when you see them eating, you feel so satisfied, you feel so happy. Probably you've given half your food to them, but it doesn't matter because I am normally well fed. So it doesn't matter one day if I eat less. but the other person has been starving. And so when I give something, there is so much of joy in my heart. So always giving gives more joy than receiving. See, the receiver may be happy, but the giver has greater joy. And so we need to realize that giving is not something that we do for a time period and stop. Paul would say, let us not become weary in doing good. No? So you don't get tired and say, okay, enough. I've given so much. I've given all my life. No, you never stop giving. You keep on giving. There's this beautiful story of the giving tree. Probably many of us know the story about the apple tree, which kept giving. There's this small boy who comes to this tree, and the tree is so happy looking at him. The tree gives of its fruit, and then he, ties a swing. He makes a swing, and then he swings on the tree, and then he starts taking the fruit, and then he starts taking the branches. He starts using the firewood, and then he starts using the tree for doing carpentry work. So the tree is constantly giving, till the end, till the boy completely cuts off the tree, you know and only the stump is left, and still the tree is so happy that it has given, whereas the boy has only been taking and never thought of even giving. So that is how we are as human beings. We keep on getting, receiving rather than thinking of giving. So today, let's reflect very seriously on how we need to give. As I told you, the whole of nature wants to give. And when we give of ourselves, when we give of our time, there is a certain place in Africa where, when you have to give a gift, no, you have to really go a long way. You have to travel and get something for someone. No, so this journey itself will take a toll on you. But the one who wants to give is so filled with a desire to give a gift that he doesn't mind traveling and going and getting the gift and then giving it. So, although the gift may not be an expensive gift, the love and the heart that this person has put into procuring the gift, that itself becomes the gift. You see, very often for us, we may not be able to give big gifts to people, but the very act of kindness, stepping in at the right moment, saying the right word, giving a little advice, or probably just uh, allowing someone to lean on your shoulder, or just giving a hug, all this is a bit of giving. And when we give unself-consciously, when we start giving, we realize that we are taking part in God's giving. How God gave himself to us, we also need to give. That is why at Christmas time we give gifts, because giving gifts is something that where we need to give of ourselves, and we need to think a little deeper, not by just giving material things. How can I give something of myself? There are so many things in me that I haven't shared, so many things in me that I haven't really given away. You know, I need to ask myself, how much more can I contribute to this world? How much more can I give of my talents, give of all the things that I've acquired, give of all the things that I've learned? So when I do that, I will really be joining with nature and with God in contributing to this world. And I would like to conclude with this beautiful passage from the Gospel of Luke. See, give and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. See, so he says, give. God says, give, and you will get back in return. And this blessing that we will receive will be for our children and for our children's children. It will go on for generations, because our giving will definitely bring back a lot of blessing. And the greatest gift we can give is to our own children, where we give them God's kingdom. We lead them into God's kingdom. If our children are doing extremely well, if we are doing very well in the world, that will not really be an achievement. What we really need to give our children is to give them the kingdom, lead them to God. And if they are God-fearing children, if they are children who can really live the values of the kingdom, that is the greatest gift we can leave behind to our children. And the second thing is to make them people who will be loving to those around them. Treat everyone else as human beings with love, with kindness, with generosity. This is the kind of attitude our children need to have, and this they will learn only from us. You see, when we give, when we share, children learn from us, and when we teach them to respect by respecting others, they will follow suit. So when we really respect human beings, when we treat others with respect, when we show them how important it is to live the values of the kingdom rather than live the values of the world, then we will really be teaching them the real purpose and meaning of life. So today let's reflect more and more on this giving. It may be something that we are all aware of, but then we need to look a little deeper and see, have I really given, or have I really held back something? What is it that I have still not given that I need to give? If I ask myself, I will discover that there are so many recesses, so many dark corners which are just hidden, so many latent talents that I have not brought to the fore, so many things in my treasure house, in my own self, which I have not probably shared with others. All this I can do, in my spare time, in my time where I think I can really make a difference to society. Let me take that step. Probably, I will be suppressed. Probably others will say, "Hey, why are you doing this?" But if I am convinced, if I really feel that I need to give, I need to go that extra mile. I need to take that initiative. And when I do that, I will be blessed manifold. Praise God.